how difficult it is to forgive and forget that insult, that hurtful behavior, that unrelieved sorrow that someone inflicted upon us as a pain to be carried for the rest of our lives. An event such as that gave rise to a memory, and unless we can find the right medicine, an effective healing for that memory, it will stay with us till the day we die. In recent times, we're having the cataracts torn off our eyes, and we're seeing more clearly than ever before words writ large on the morning and the midnight sky that the church, in all its postured grandeur, has let the little people down. Worse, much worse, it is so torn into body, mind, and soul of some people that it has killed the people they said they loved. For centuries, the churches have gone on teaching about a God who forgives all those who confess their sins. But people have gone away in large numbers because, at least in part, they saw that this theology of a God and forgiveness had no practical substance in it, and it showed a wide lack of the psychology of it all, or the therapy of it all, whereby people might be helped to be free. As you heard, and as you've heard time to time, I advocate a new faith, because the old faith, at this point at least, has failed us. The pieties and the platitudes have had their day. We need to recover the meaning of the faith factor, not as a theological easy talk, but as a psychological and therapeutic healing experience, a healing release, so that we can begin to rebuild a new way of being human in the 21st century of this Christian era. Someone snapped at me an email the other day and said, "Love is the answer." I replied, "Yes, the Beatles sang it. All you need is love." And then they added 3 more words, remember, and left us to wonder what those 3 additional words really meant. In reality, we need more than love, though love is important. It seems a bit stupid to even say that we need more, because we all know we need more. We need the law. We need controls over human behavior. We need rationality to steady our floods of irrationality. We need medicine, we need surgery, we need therapy. We're glad to have love, but life gives us more than love. And through them all, we need to discover the faith factor, the energy that will turn us around, energy for a different way to embrace the future, the faith factor. The faith factor is therapy to face ourselves, therapy to cope with those things that cannot be forgiven or forgotten. I put these unforgivables into 5 big baskets. So I'll put them into their baskets. Basket 1, the world of terrible catastrophes, at the human level particularly, but also at the animal level or at the ecological level. How can we forgive these atrocities, this destructiveness? People massacred, in Rwanda in 1994. But you can go back further, can't we? In Poland in 1944, to Hungary, to Russia, to South Africa, to the Congo, to Vietnam. All of these are happening in our time. Say nothing of what happened before our time. The destruction of life, the exploitation of the environment, the loss of the world's greatest wonders, the flattening of whole cities by both sides, ours and theirs, whoever theirs happens to be. Unforgivable destructiveness. There's big basket number one, a huge basket. Basket number two, people's crimes, behavioural crimes, sexual trafficking, sexual abuse, the violence of gangs and the violence of our domestic life, the maltreatment of children. In our Big Tent project, designed to help intervene in the lives of small children the age of 5 and less, we state there that 600,000 of our children are reported as having been maltreated or hurt. 600,000 every year. That's a big basket. The third basket is the waste and the deception and the damage, the political within our political and social structures. How we spend astronomical millions on defending our borders, on homeland security. But how much are we spending on building a better world to prevent many of these things from happening? How much are we spending on establishing a fairer human society? We could go further into that big basket. The fourth, our personal and interpersonal life. Yes, there are things we cannot forgive. We will not forgive. We cannot forget. You can be carrying something like a mental abscess that can affect all your thoughts, your feelings, your behavior, your relationships, your memory, your growth. The unforgivable. What parents must experience when their two sons are killed in a pointless war, conducted on the basis of lies, not by them, but by us. The loss of a child under the wheels of a van driven by a drunk driver. The rape and murder of a young woman. A teacher who could have given the child one extra mark in grace, in generosity, and passed him or her, rather than implant in that child a sense of injustice and cruelty. Sometimes we're affected by the size of the offence, sometimes by the very nature of the offence, sometimes by the nature of the offence. There it is, or the behaviour of the perpetrator. All there. Can we forgive? We come to the fifth basket. There has been a great deal of destructiveness, negativity, and damage perpetrated by people from our different religions. It is easy to point to the other religions, but so much damage has been done by the Christian religion. So far from being a source of real inspiration and celebration, the churches have been often increasingly bothered by the upkeep of the properties rather than caring for the people. We can easily lose our priorities and the sense of what is really important. If we find it difficult to forgive and forget, then it is necessary for us to find a way of managing the accumulating inner feelings of disgust and resentment, of our outrage and our hate. of our fear and our failure? How will we manage those in face of being unable to forgive or forget? I'm going to put some points before you and hope that these might be helpful as we all have to deal with this. How do we manage ourselves in the face of these issues? You can be deeply hurt and your mind can be messed up by someone who offended you 5 years ago. Or he or she can be dead these 30 years, but we're still affected. Such an example shows what is urgently necessary. And taking the first step, if we can take the first step, everything can change. What is that first step? We need to release him. We need to release ourselves. So rather than get mixed up with all the congealment that is gathered round the word forgiveness, think in terms of the machinery, if you like, of release. That there we are jammed up. And if you are jammed up, what do we need most of all? We need to release so that we see the world differently and we feel differently. If we do not release him, if we do not release ourselves, we commit ourselves to carrying this unwanted residue that will permeate our life right through for many years. The critical thing is this: even though the other party cannot be trusted and therefore cannot be forgiven, we release ourselves from these embittering emotions. We release ourselves from his hold on us. We release ourselves from our self-destructive energies and our own self-incarceration. So that's number one I put to you. Number two, I'd like to say you need to refocus your faith energy. If you continue to focus on the wounds of the past, on that person in the past, don't be surprised if you don't heal. But if you can refocus, that means redirecting your positive energy into another pursuit, into what now you can do, into what is the healthiest thing to do. So that really requires, refocusing really does require a decision on your part as to whether you will refocus forward or you'll continue to focus backwards. Number three. You can see they all begin with R, with the letter R, so that we might have ease of remembering them and rehearsing them. Number three is we need to reinvest our energy. If you keep investing energy in that past event, it becomes inflated beyond its importance or its value. So we need to reinvest. Well, in effect, we have to disinvest your energy from the past and invest that energy in something over here, a reinvest in a new object, a new cause, a new direction. Number four, some of you heard me mention this again and again, it is so important to reposition yourself in relation to the hurtful event or the hurting person. Put physical distance between you and the offensive object, if for no other reason to protect yourself. Protect your inner self as well as your outer self. Put emotional distance between you and the offensive experience. Reposition yourself from where you've been stuck, incarcerated, if you like, so that you are not repeating the distress. Not repeatedly taking yourself back into the distress zone. You reposition yourself. Number five. it's important to regulate the spillage of your words and the spillage of your emotions. You'll notice that people who continue to go on with what somebody did or did not do, or what they did or did not do, they keep digging themselves into a hole, and before long, in they go. They remain in the hole. Emotional regulation is vital so that you get beyond the anger. You regulate that anger, turn it off. Your depression, your guilt, your anxiety, it can be regulated. And so also the words, the verbiage that we spill out can be regulated. Verbal regulation is necessary. The tendency is to want to go on over it again and again, as if that's going to bring about some dramatic change. Sometimes that verbal expression is valuable if it's done correctly, if it's done with a person who knows how to bring about that regulation. But if you're just repeating it over and over again, you'll know that it's a very unsuccessful way to live. Verbal regulation means getting a hold on your talk and controlling it carefully and constructively. Number 6, you can begin to rebuild. Rebuild your way of life. Rebuild your relationships. Perhaps not that relationship which has now been injured, but other relationships. You rebuild the direction that you'd like now to live your life. This may mean finding a new cause, a new community, a new relationship, rebuilding. You see, you can store the energy of hate and the energy of no cure, but you can restore the energy of healing. Restore that energy of healing and become engaged in the process of healing. Sometimes we can become so incarcerated by our beliefs of what is right and wrong, by what should or should not happen, that we live in an unhealed state. If forgiveness, that word in biblical language, means anything at all, it surely means being healed. Number 7, and the last. Things do come in sevens. Number 7 is to re-emerge. Re-emerge not as the angry, hurt, inferior, damaged victim, but re-emerge as a person capable of positively surviving. Re-emerge as a person with a new faith. The faith factor gives us the strength to close off what can't be carried forward. And we re-emerge, released, refocused, reinvesting energy, good energy, repositioned, regulated, ready to rebuild with a new faith in ourselves and the future. It is true that our forgiveness language is very much embedded in a God language. And again, we're likely to adopt a theology of God watching over us, or as a God suffering with us, or a God feeling, as it were, with us in our agony, and that we can stay there. I commend to you the idea of a God language that is a release language. If the word God means anything to us at all these days, we've got to see that it is the language of release, the energy of being released to live life more fully. You can say you don't want to believe in such a God. You want to believe in that old God. Well, you can. But I tell you this, everything changes when you see your God as a faith energy that releases you into a new way to live your life. And that's the kind of God, that's the kind of energy we want to bring to our life. Would you please stand?